Welcome back, guys. This is Donnie
and Sandra,
and we are currently in Haywood County, North Carolina. We are staying at Creekwood Farm RV Park, and so for those of you that want to check out the review, and you don't have to have a camper or a RV or motorhome, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because they have cabins here.
They have cabins here, and so you can stay at this RV park despite of not owning a camper. I don't think they allow any tent sites.
No,
there's no tent camping.
No tent
so
camping.
It's either a camper or the cabins. But at any rate, we like to share the fun facts. And we like to share urban and ghost stories if we can find one. And so be sure to check out the fun fact video, and you'll learn some more things about this area and some of the sites that we saw while we were in this area. And but what we're going to do, this is a really bizarre, I don't want to call it a ghost story. It's more of an urban legend is what it is. Mm-hmm. Sandra has never heard of this. So sometimes I get all excited about some of the ghost stories and urban legends, and I will go ahead and give her a little idea of what it is, or a little brief summation of what I'm going to be talking about. This one here I have not. So she's going to be hearing this for the first time, just like everybody else. But this one here has a really wild, suspicious background. And so I think you guys are going to find this real interesting. And so, but it is called The Story of Boojim and Hootin'. The Story of Boojim and Hootin'. And this is going to be quite educational. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to be showing you, it's like a comic strip, pictures of what I got offline. And then at the end of this, y'all, I'm going to share with you some little extra information that I gleaned doing a little further research on the story, if I can find any. And so this one here, I was able to find some extra information that I think would give some insight on where this story actually came from. You know, was it real, or was it just something somebody just made up to tell around the fire? And so, so after we get done with the story, I'm going to give it to you like it's online, and then I'm going to give you that extra information, a little bit of extra spices on the plate. And so, but it starts off, it says, way back in the hills, back under the boughs of all the balsams, am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Balsams.
The balsams. I
always pronounce it wrong. Happened a story about a pretty girl, what loved a crazy critter. And again, Boojum and Hootin'. Now, Boojum ain't quite a man. He ain't quite a bear. He ain't quite an ape. He ain't quite a raccoon either. He ain't quite nothing except being just Boojum. He just lived all by himself. I got to say it like they have it in here as if you're from the mountains.
Okay.
So I need to say it like they got it here. He just lived all by himself in the woods, mostly not bothering nobody. Now, under those cool mountains and under all that cool mountain air, there's a secret treasure what can be found. Rubies, sparkling rubies, red rubies, beautiful rubies, shining rubies, bright bunches of gleaming, glittering, deep red rubies just waiting in the dark under them mountains. Boojum loved them rubies. He passed all his days and all his nights hunting hidden rubies way back in the hills. There weren't nothing Boojum loved more than rubies, except maybe pretty girls. Now, hill folk ain't got lots of money, and if you ain't got no money to buy a shower bath when you want to get clean, you ain't got no choice but to go dipping in a mountain stream. And when you got dipping in a mountain stream, you ain't got wear no clothes. You ain't gonna wear no clothes. Boojum sure loved to peep on them pretty girls with no clothes. When most any girl spies something that ain't quite a raccoon peeping on her, she's gonna scream and run away. But one girl weren't most any girl. That girl were Annie. Annie got an axe, Annie got a log, Annie cut some kindling, gonna smoke a hog. I is smelling funkier than a swamp full of possums eating fancy French cheese. Time to get clean. Ain't got a dollar, ain't got a dime, swimming in a hole when it's bath time. Who dat rustling around back in them bushes? You go on, get out, get out of here where I can lose my religion on you for peeping on my natural born nakedness. Why, I believes you is that Boojum I done heard about. And then he went, gaw. Oh, you ain't so horriblifying as what I've been told. And he went, gom. And then she says, in fact, you the kind of ugly what could grow on a girl. And then she says, we gonna see about making you a man, making you my man. So Annie set to courting Boojum what to make him her man. And afore too long, they was living and loving way back in the backwoods. But as much as Boojum loved Annie, he still loved them rubies. Boojum would go sneaking off at night, hunting them stones. So when Annie got lonely, she would head on outside and hoot and holler for her man to come home. And it was like, hoo-yah, how he hoop. Soon folks was calling her Hootin' Annie. Hootin' Annie. The name stuck so good that now whenever hill folk call each other together for a good time, they calls it a
Hootin' Annie.
Hootin' Annie. That's where that word come from.
Huh.
That's where that word come from, Hootin' Annie. And so now that is the story of Boojum and Hootin' Annie. That's the story of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some other information. This is some other information that I've gleaned. Now, of course, Boojum, B-O-O-J-U-M, is pronounced Boojim. 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 That's how you pronounce it. It was a fictional creature in The Hunting of the Snark back in 1876, a narrative nonsense poem by Lewis Carroll. In the poem, the elusive snark turns out to be a mysterious monster called a Boojum. Boojum. Now, a snark is an imaginary animal used to refer to someone or something that is difficult to track down. Also, in slang terms, it means an attitude or expression of mocking, irreverence, and sarcasm. And it says a tall, spiny, long-lived desert tree. They've called this special type of tree a snark. It's called the Boojum tree. It's a tall, tiny, long-lived desert tree. I am going to try to pronounce the actual scientific name for it. Native to northwestern Mexico and related to the ocotillo, the plant's English name, Boojum. Boojum. They call it the Boojum tree or something like that. And so it says, was given by Godfrey Sykes of the Desert Laboratory in Tucson, Arizona, and is taken from the Lewis Carroll's poem, The Hunting of the Snark. Now, Boojum. Now, this is where it starts to get weird. This is where it starts to get really weird.
Starting to get weird?
Yeah, I'm starting to really get weird.
Okay.
Boojum has actually been called the Bigfoot of North Carolina. The Bigfoot of North Carolina. This may be where the whole story of Boojum and Annie came from. And so now, guys, we're about to jump down a big old rabbit hole. And when I get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, we're going to start digging in that rabbit hole. We're going to share. I'm going to share some things with you that I think you're going to find quite interesting. And so now, Eagle's Nest Mountain towers at the southern edge of the Balsam Mountain Range, and once was home to the ill-fated Eagle's Nest Hotel, built in the 1900s by an eccentric developer from Waynesville, NC, North Carolina. After the grand opening, the guests discovered that it was haunted by a strange creature, a woolly brute who could be heard late at night wandering beneath the hotel, smacking its lips and making vile noises. The old-timers said that the thing was as ancient as the hills, but the hotel patrons demanded that the owner do something about it. It was nicknamed the Boojum by locals and was said to be 7 feet tall, covered in shaggy hair all over. One night, one might say the Boojum is similar to the abominable snowman, or the Himalayans, or of the Himalayans, or the Wampus cat in the swamps of eastern Carolina. Now, we have not went through the urban legend of the Wampus cat yet. We will when we get over to the eastern side of North Carolina. We will cover that, but they said it's very similar to that. Now, I will say this: when it comes to Bigfoot and the abominable snowman, I had one guy who was really into the abominable snowman and Bigfoot. He said that the abominable snowman and Bigfoot are actually two different, supposedly quote-unquote creatures. And so, but I just thought I'd throw that out at you. But at any rate, it goes on. It says, however, he is indeed a unique creature of his own, and Haywood County is his home. Though no one has gotten close enough to clearly describe him, it is said he stands about 8 feet tall and is a mixture of both man and beast. Thick, shaggy gray hair covers his body with a human-like face never described as handsome. He is mostly seen from afar on rocky mountain cliffs or outcroppings when twilight falls. He can sometimes be heard moaning deep in the woods near hiking trails. Boojum's home is tucked somewhere in the Balsam Mountains, a range that adjoins the Blue Ridge Mountains in southwestern Haywood County. Most folks recognize the Balsams by the notable peaks of Cold Mountain Shining Rock, Richard Balsam, and Black Balsam Knob. It is not recommended to go on a quest to find Boojum, as he may be quite frightening to stumble upon, though he is apparently harmless unless threatened. The legend of Boojum is no doubt a mysterious piece of Haywood County folklore, but is it only a story? To this day, there are tales of a tall, shaggy creature roaming the Balsam Mountains. So could it be that Annie and Boojum had children? Now, guys, you're probably going to hear machinery behind me and cars and stuff. That's because it is daytime and people are moving around. So this is a happening place during the day. Now, what I'm going to do is, because they have nicknamed it the Bigfoot of North Carolina, it very well may be. It very well may be. For any of you that like Bigfoot, Marion, North Carolina has a Bigfoot festival every year. What time? What?
September the 2nd, we're going.
Okay, September. Look around September-ish every year. Go online, put in Marion County, North Carolina Bigfoot Festival. They do a Bigfoot festival every year, and so we do plan on going to that. But there have been reports of Bigfoot-like entities, creatures. I hate to really call it necessarily an animal, but there have been reports in this area, and it very well could be, guys, that this whole Boojum story got its roots from an actual Bigfoot. Sounds
like it.
Yeah, to me it sounds so incredible. I mean, it sounds very suspicious that I think there could be something to it.
It does
But
sound like it.
if you guys will notice, I'm going to briefly go over just some extra little things about Bigfoot that have recently come to light since the time of this. I want to say it's been a few years before I actually did this recording. This picture that you see before you is the Patterson-Gimlin film back in 1967. This is a very famous photograph of Bigfoot. Now, as far as going back into the history of Bigfoot, Leif Erikson back in 1001 AD, a Viking commander, said that during his exploration of Newfoundland, Canada's east coast, he and his men saw hairy, ugly giants with great black eyes that uttered harsh cries. This is the earliest recorded encounter with Bigfoot / Sasquatch. Now, Reverend Elkanah Walker, a missionary to the Spokane Indians of the 1800s, 1840, when describing the Bigfoot in his memoirs, he wrote, Elkanah also stated that the Indians called these creatures Sitkos or Silatics. Now, the guy that you see before you is David Paulides. He's got a BS, MS degrees in University of San Francisco, 20 years law enforcement. He is a retired law enforcement officer. He was 10 years as a MUFON investigator. Now, MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network, founded in 1969. He studied hominology full-time for 8 years. Hominology is the term used as the name of the pursuit and study by researchers who claim the existence of hominoid beings, which generally are North American Sasquatch or Bigfoot, Nepal and Himalayas, Yeti, Russia, Snowman, and Australia, the Yowie, China, the Yiran. He has written 6 books that deal with missing persons. So if you go online and put missing 411, that's David Paulides. And don't buy the books from Amazon. They hike up the prices. Go directly to him and you'll only pay about $20, $25. And so that's just a little extra. He tends to tell people that people are selling his books online on Amazon for extraordinary prices. But at any rate, he has studied the Bigfoot phenomenon extensively by the request of a couple of wealthy business owners who helped funded the project. Now, if you go on YouTube, put in Can-Am Missing Project, and you are going to have your plate full. He did a whole class concerning just Bigfoot. I learned a ton of stuff, and some of the stuff I'm going to share with you right now. He did a MUFON presentation a number of years ago, and David was relating that through his research, all the tribes, this is the Native American tribes David spoke to about Bigfoot or the Omaha, believe that they are not animals but are another tribe. And when spoken to in the Native American language, the language is understood by the Omaha, which is quote-unquote Bigfoot. Drawings done by a forensic artist, Harvey Pratt, appear to have a human Native American appearance. He goes on to say the Bay Area Bigfoot group, Archie Buckley, which is a foot specialist, studied dozens of Bigfoot casts and prints and concluded that they were absolutely human and that every characteristic is human. And so now what they did is they were actually able to get DNA from hair samples and other types of DNA. You've got a mitochondrial DNA, which comes from that hair, and then you got what's called nuclear DNA, which comes from the nucleus of the cell. That's where you get that nuclear DNA. They was actually able to get DNA from, I want to say I'm going to read on here, but I know that most of the samples that they got was mitochondrial DNA. And but it does say the hair samples came back as non-human, but the mitochondrial DNA, this is the mitochondrial DNA, it only comes from the mother. The mitochondrial DNA came back as human. So the hair samples gave a non-human sample, but the DNA, the mitochondrial DNA that was attached to those hairs, came back as human. And so over 95% of the DNA samples that they obtained came back as human. I'm wanting to say that they did get some nuclear DNA, and it says that origins of the female DNA showed a majority came from Europe, Asia, and Africa 12 to 15,000 years ago in the Middle East area. A portion showed the origination from the area they were collected in North America. The male side could not be categorized. Unknown origin. The male side of the DNA that they collected, they don't know where it came from. They don't have anything in GenBank. The laboratories that studied it.
The mother part is human.
The mother part, they were able to find that in GenBank, but the father, they don't have anything in GenBank to match it. So what they were saying is, there were the laboratories that were studying this said, did you guys find a new species of human? And so they don't have anything in GenBank that matches that. But 0% of all the samples came back as ape origin. None of them showed an ape origin, any type of ape. So it's not a mix of human and ape is what they're saying. Some of the biggest certified university labs in the southwestern United States, these were blind tests. None of the labs were told what they were testing. The cost was about $500,000 to have this done and to have it done. So at any rate, the laboratories were saying, hey, did you guys find a new species of human is what they're saying. And so, but guys, that is all the information that I am going to share with you. I do have more information on the Bigfoot as far as this little extra stuff, but for time's sake, I think I'm going to stop right there. I think that this is one of those really kind of bizarre urban legends that appear to have some truth to it.
Yeah.
It appears to have some truth to it. You know, who was this Annie person? You know, I don't know. Is it something that was added to? Well, I don't know. All we know is that this Boojum appears to be, at least, there tends to be some truth to an actual creature, something that was attached to it, and then maybe they added to the story, like a lot of fanciful type tales get added to, you know, like we learned in Cherokee, coming back to Maggie Valley at Bear Meats, that the guy was telling us a story of an Indian mythical beast that sounds a lot like a prehistoric type of animal.
Yeah, it
a
does.
serpent, what you would find in a serpent in the waters and stuff, but this serpent had a crystal on its head.
Yeah.
But boy, I tell you what, it sounded a lot like
it did.
what you would find. And so, but at any rate,
Nessie or something like that.
yeah, like a Nessie type animal. And so, but it's been passed along. But since it was been passed along, they have added to it here and there. And so, but guys, we hope you've enjoyed it. And so if we do find anything in the counties that we visit, we will share it. And if there's any more extra stuff that I can find out about these ghost stories or urban legends, I will sure add to it to make it a little bit more flavorful. And so, but you guys take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.